Lastly, I think I've started to think about making a developer diary for the mod that I talked about because this has been a long time in coming. I'm finally getting a lot of models done in a fairly short amount of time, or at least a lot done on models in a fairly short amount of time. I doubt that we'll ever get maps done, but I've at least heard from my tech guy. We're going to be in direct contact with each other. I've got a lot of models ready to go. They just need dummy assignments and all that other junk. And hopefully he can help with that. If he can't, I've got to go back through some of the betas that I had set up because some of them are not set up as actual models that have damage to them. But mainly I just wanted to just be sort of a placeholder at this point to talk a little bit about some of the progress that has been made. Some of you may already know that Avalanche Studios is doing a movie license title, that title being Fury Road. Now, it's unclear because they've gone from being very open about making the Mad Max game to hinting at making it, if the hints are to be taken at face value. They've been very hush-hush. Originally, this game was written by George Miller, who was co-writer of the Mad Max trilogy, the original, so that has that going for it. It's actually written by a guy who knows the universe because he created the Mad Max universe. And it was being headed, although he stepped down from that, but that's not entirely a bad thing. It was being headed by the director of God of War. So you had two strengths going for a movie licensed game. That's more than we can say for, I don't know how many movie licensed games have been out that have ever had actual creator input and time done into it. Now it's going to be based off of Fury Road, the upcoming 2014 Mad Max film that's a reboot reimagining, which is got the community split. Myself, as much as I love the original Mad Max movies, I don't care. This movie is going to feature non-CG stunts, just like the original Mad Max movies, meaning that these stunts are likely to blow people's minds because we're so used to these CGI stunts like in Fast and the Furious. Everything you're going to see in Fury Road, just like with Road Warrior, is completely real. They're really destroying and breaking and wrecking cars right before your eyes. Now, there's no Mel Gibson in this one, but I don't care. I really would have liked to have seen the original Mad Max 4 that was supposed to tie up the Mad Max trilogy with a nice, neat bow with Mel and everything else. But it's not happening. It's just not happening. And to sit there and cry and complain about it when this movie could be as good, maybe even better than the originals, I'm not going to do that to that film. These cars have such craftsmanship to them. I know because I'm making some of them right now in 3D. Now, if you want to look at my development so far, or at least in terms of my development on the new phase of this mod, link will be down in the underbar to my page with all of my models that are in progress right now. As far as the original mods went, we had the Wez bike from Road Warrior, which was the bike that you saw at the beginning of the movie. We had the Landau, which was the black car with the skull hood ornaments that bit the dust at the beginning of the movie. We had both interceptors from both Mad Max 1 and Mad Max 2. We had the Goose bike, which was a donated model to us, which will be deconverting to Vice City since we never got that done. We had the Monaro, which was the car that was stolen by Knight Rider in the original Mad Max. That was in game. We had the red XA that had the bat painted on it on the front that gets shotgunned, that the driver gets shotgunned in the face by Max and crashes into gets smashed by the rammer on the Mack truck. We had the unarmored Mack that was in game. The armored Mack is, of course, we'll get into that. But we had the unarmored Mack in game, and we were trying to get the graffiti thing working, but that didn't quite work out. But maybe now we'll be better at it. And then we had my friend from we also had Big Bopper. my friend made a March Hare out of Big Bopper, which again, these were donated models. So, we had at least a good 7 models, and then we deconverted the sawed-off shotgun from San Andreas to Vice City. We also had my Lord Humongous gun, his Magnum with the scope on it, in-game as well, to replace the Python in the game itself, and that worked out quite well. I think we had that for at least Vice City, if not San Andreas, so that was kind of cool to walk around with that. Now, the meshes that are done but are waiting to get put in is the Impala with the Naked Girl hood ornament from the Mad Max movie. Excuse me. We have to finish the Landau in terms of some of the beta stuff that we had issues with, namely the rims and the tires issues and things of that nature. In fact, I may have to go back and redo the tires and the rims myself, but that's a whole nother bag of stuff to have to deal with, because the car had 2 different hubcaps and the car doesn't support that. We had the Armored Mac as well as the Armored Mac trailer. I had an unarmored Mac trailer for the compound. I had most of the compound from Mad Max 2, the Road Warrior modeled. Let's see, we had Papagello's car / the Lone Wolf car. It was the car he was killed in the big chase. We have the red Snake tow truck, the one that has the boat windshield on it from a speedboat, which was an interesting choice, but hey, it works. It also had the dart gun mounted on it. That one was finished modeling. I'm trying to think, what else? Oh, the gyrocopter from Road Warrior. So, geez, we have almost as many mods waiting to be skinned and put in game than we have that were finished. And now what I'm working on right now is the Pink DeSoto from Road Warrior. I'm also working on the train / Mack truck that was from Thunderdome. I'm finishing up the agricultural plane, the air truck, called a Transylvanian P12, I believe, air truck for from Thunderdome. I'm working on one of the battle rigs from Fury Road, and I'm also working on the Giga Horse from Fury Road, which is essentially 2 Cadillacs welded together. That's going to be an interesting mod to finish up. It'll be an even more interesting mod to get in game, especially because the engine and all its pipe working is going to be a nightmare to get done. But I'm at least trying to get the main chassis and all of the hookups for the bottom chassis as well as the tractor tires modeled, but that's a whole nother thing. On top of that, I'm working on some side projects just to keep myself from getting bored. That's what burned me out the first time I was doing this mod, as well as the fact that it was only me doing anything for the mod, and I can't texture, and I'm not good with tech work, but I've got a tech guy. So anyways, I'm working on, there was a train simulator called Microsoft Train Simulator 2003, which had a train that was also a hot rod. So I'm working on that, is trying to make that for a train mod for San Andreas, because I think that would be cool. I'm also working on an Australian Charger, Valiant Charger. I think it's the VJ version, because it's the stock car that was also used as cars in Road Warrior, which I'm also working on the modified version of the Chargers myself. I was gifted a model to ref off of. I cannot release the model itself because it was a gift, and so but it wasn't one that I could just release and modify and release. Otherwise, that part of this mod would be finished. But I'm getting that modeled as well, and working on that. I'm going to be doing some station wagon and some ute versions of Australian muscle cars, including the Ford Falcon XA, the Ford Falcon XB, some regular stock Ford Falcon XAs, because I noticed how different the body types are. I'm also trying to work on a 1972 Gran Torino, because I have not seen them in-game in any racing game, even with muscle cars, which I think is a crime. And the only meshes I've ever come across are pay meshes, where you have to pay in order to access it. And I'm not going to pay for something if I'm just going to ref model it. I've noticed the body structure, and it's a lot like the Landau, with a little bit of the Charger for the front end. And I'm also going to be working on different versions of the Valiant Charger as well. Um, and so I'm wanting to make the Torino for Grand Theft Auto and then maybe port it over to other games. I'm really seeing a lot of these vehicles in Far Cry 3 on PC, and if there are modding tools for it, especially for vehicles, damn it, I want to make that happen. I want to bring about I want to bring a whole bunch of these Mad Max cars uh, over to Far Cry. Plus, I'm also working on a 1971 Charger. Now, why is that significant in any way, shape, or form? Well, to most of you, it may not. But if any of you have seen the movie Man on Fire, the Denzel Washington movie, towards the end of the movie, he encounters a guy who has a modified 71 Charger, and that thing looks sexy as hell. I would love to have that as the game cars, something that you could steal, something that would be a muscle car, but it would have like the sun shield and all the modifications from Man on Fire. So yes, I'm thinking of other games as I'm creating these mods for Grand Theft Auto, and I want these games, these Grand Theft Auto ones to work. I'm also trying to go talk to some studios. There's a studio that has a post-apocalyptic game out by a studio called Two Dawn. Um, that right now has a very, very promising Wasteland beta game, and I'm going to see if maybe they would be willing to allow me to donate models for them from Road Warrior and maybe even the Torino, and see what they would do with that, because I think that DLC for that game would really boost people wanting that game, and I would certainly promote it on my channel. But anyways, that closes out this diary. There's probably not going to be a lot to talk about. I'm probably only going to do these developer diaries when there's something to talk about. But link to the progress so far that I've gotten done will be down in the underbar.